The Lord has told us to maintain equanimity in all kinds of situations. And there's also something like passive acceptance of a situation or a joyful acceptance of a situation. So what is the difference in the practical in these three modes of acceptance?
A bhakta, one who has the devotion, he just accepts. Okay? He is never unhappy. He is never happy either. What you call happiness. Because if you're happy, then there's a negative to it, negative side. There you are always happy, no matter what. Eternal joy. That's within you. Outside, whatever you see is the Lord's creation. And if it's His creation, what are we to say? We accept. That acceptance again is not as a negative thing or the positive thing, as a passive acceptance or as a positive acceptance. You are just accepting every situation as the Master's. Master's deed and Master Himself is present everywhere. You never have time to think of negative or positives. And you never have any negative or positive attitudes either. So when will you be thinking in terms of positives or negatives? If you are silent within, and if you are serving all the time, if you have claims over people, then you say you should do this and not this. You like this person or you don't like this person. If both the people, or both types of people, and every type of person belongs to the Master, what do you say? The Lord created him. He sent him. You're meeting him. He's going to part one day. But then that's His will. You're not deciding yourself. But you're not a person who's non-participating. In fact, you're not participating in anything, and yet you are working the whole time. Because every situation is created by the Master, and you fit in there without any emotional disturbance. The trouble is with us is we emotionally react to every situation. That gives us pain. It's the emotions that make us unhappy. It's the emotions that make us sorrowful or give us all the aberrations in the mind. Otherwise, you are basically, intrinsically a peaceful person. A human being with humane qualities is a very peaceful person, is a very happy person. He has nothing to be unhappy about. So there is a difference between a person who obeys or who accepts and who lives like a human being. These days, we have given up the humane qualities. Our values have changed. That's why we are not very happy. There's always some problem somewhere inside us. Otherwise, we are happy people. We have to be happy people because that is our birthright. Where is passive or negative then? If there is no reaction of that type, you're always happy. Because happiness is because you say it's the Master's creation. And if you get into trouble somewhere, or you get something bad or negative as people put it, God has created it. And we are passing through a phase. We are seeing these things. The Lord wants to know, are we going to react to this? Do we have equanimity, tranquility, Are we tranquil within ourselves? Are we objecting to things? A person who says, "Thy will be done," he'll never be reacting in any other manner. So there is no question of negative or positive.
For example, there's a very common example given that a glass is, somebody says it's half full and somebody says it's half empty. It's talking about the same thing, but there is a difference in the way they perceive it.
It's only the perceiver who's saying that. But it's not a question of half empty and half full. It's a question of negative and positive. That is what we are doing now. Because we like or dislike. And our likes and dislikes are giving meanings to the worldly things, whatever we see. Wherever our senses go, we are not using our intellect even. And the meanings that we give to the situation are also based on our likes and dislikes. And if they are based on that, how can we be happy? Every situation is never going to be likable. So our emotions never grow. Emotionally, we are dwarfs. At a chronological age, can be very, you've grown up. You can be 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, but your emotional age can be 10 years old. Then what happens? That is why they have come to the conclusion now in the Western world also that it's the EQ that matters, emotional quotient, and not the IQ. Because IQ can take you in very other directions, because your intellect is working not as the principle, but as a dependent on your experience outside. And your experiencing is being interpreted by your mind, by your likes and dislikes. How can you find out what is right and not right? So our judgments are not really correct. We have to be emotionally mature even to be able to interpret a situation, an ordinary situation. So we have to look within ourselves before we can decide anything. And what we need is emotional maturity. These days, we who call ourselves human beings, we haven't got humane qualities even. Why? Why have our value system changed? We are such fierce and strong attractions and rejections. Our rejection rate is much higher than the acceptance rate. And if it will not be good for me, what care I how good it be? That's the base where we live. And that's what decides. If I haven't liked this, the interpretation you give to the situation is negative. Why must I like everything? Everybody has a right to live the way they want to. Why should I interpret them in a manner in which I think I like and I think they should behave? Why? This is what makes us unhappy. And even otherwise, this is what brings in all the other aberrations inside. And this takes away the happiness and the joy of living. So if we have none of these, what will happen? If emotions, now you see when we say devotion, in devotion there are no emotions. Whilst a bhakt is praying or saying anything, he's saying it to the master. There is nothing called emotionalism there. Because he's talking to him, or else you don't even believe it. You may be having a very fervent prayer, but you're addressing it to somebody you presume, who's hearing it, and you believe he'll answer it. You're going to say it, you're not going to repeat your prayer even. Because every time you talk to him, there'll be a new prayer. Because it's not a question of likes and dislikes or any emotional rejection or acceptance. You're just talking to him. You're putting yourself bare in front of him. Or you're making your own commitments to your master. And when you're making a commitment to somebody who's right in front of you, will there be any emotionalism? If somebody starts crying, for example, and you think the person has become very, very prayerful, nonsense. Why? Where's the necessity? We're talking to the Master. Talking to him as if the people think that we are making a mistake or we are believing in something which is not real, but a devotee. He believes that he is talking to the Master. And he says things to him. Everything is, every word is, every deed is also addressed to him. When he feels his presence around him, then how will he treat other people? In a very positive, humane manner. He treat all human beings as human beings. At the moment we think only in terms of I, ego and personality and grandization. So everything goes wrong. We don't care for another person. So when we don't care, what will we see? That makes a world of difference. So we should try and see what are our emotions like. You want to appoint somebody, check what are his emotions like. Do you want a person who's always in moods and who has his likes and dislikes to an extent that he can't even behave normally? You'll say, "Na, Baba. We can go along up to here, and after that, you can get people from outside." Because you won't be able to deal with the person. The other person he uses emotions as a weapon. And when emotions become the weapons and the so much negative, and negativity is full of them, this means it is very tough to fight that, isn't it? So, let not your emotions come in. Look at everything objectively. Now, in order to have that objectivity, we should give up our likes and dislikes. Positive and negative. That's where yoga comes in. If you say, "I like it," your interpretation is totally different. And "I don't like it," it'll automatically be different. So you're not even looking at the situation objectively. How can you give an objective answer, and how can you behave in a negative or the positive manner? Because that will depend on your likes and dislikes. Have it.